The professor, Jason Jones, here joining us on The Athletic. Jason, we just found out De'Aaron Fox isn't going to play today, but it's okay. Alvin said if it was a playoff game, he'd be okay to go.
Well, we'll never know then, will we?
That's pretty much it, man. I feel like Alvin didn't mean anything by it, and
of course not. Just that's not our problem. We got to get these jokes off. I mean, it ain't got nothing to do with Alvin. Alvin's speaking of the guy who's actually been to the playoffs. So I mean, hey, it is what it is.
We didn't. Matter of fact, what up, Jay? We didn't give him the proper introduction. You already know when you're on here, you are Professor Jason Jones.
Well, I did call.
You said, well, okay.
Yeah.
That's when I was muted. I couldn't hear nothing.
Okay. I got to change the title though. Like on the screen, it's got to now read the professor at Berkeley. Our man, Jason Jones.
Better that than Professor. What's my man's name? Professor Jabari Reynolds.
Oh man, what's crazy? I got a friend whose name is Jabari Reynolds. So every time I see that, I crack up. But hey, if I was Professor Jabari Reynolds, if I knew I had a student whose dad was Ghost, I'm not trying to write a book about him. I'm gonna leave that kid alone. I'll be like, oh, that's who your daddy was? We cool. You get an A. People mess with you and end up dead.
Things are being announced here. Barry Bonds did not get into the Hall of Fame. Apparently they're going to honor his home run record. He just won't be enshrined as a player. He got 66% of writers' votes. Roger Clemens got 65% of writers' votes. But hey, all good because David Ortiz is in.
Oh, Big Papi. Yeah. Gotta love him.
David Ortiz is going to the Hall of Fame because of one series and the fact that he said this is our effing city.
That's crazy.
That's why baseball. I can't take baseball Hall of Fame seriously. I really can't. You can honor the quote. You can honor the tainted record, but you can't honor the men that said it. I mean,
amazing.
I mean, what are we doing? I mean, that makes no sense at all. Yeah,
it is what it is, man. The Hall of Fame is I think I would argue Hall of Fames across sports are a circus. It's just baseball, really. They think they're taking the moral high ground by not letting guys like Barry Bonds in or not letting guys like Roger Clemens in when that's foolish. You have guys who have used steroids in the Hall of Fame. Whether you know it or not, you do. You have guys who have done a lot worse.
You got racists, all type of stuff in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but this is where we draw the line. We draw the line right here. And like we said, there are guys already in that used.
Yeah.
Everybody was not. I don't say everybody, but it was prevalent at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And to decide, okay, these are the two guys that we're going to make an example out of. Barry and Roger. I mean, really, like I said, I don't like Hall of Fames much anyway. They don't always make sense to me. I mean, you go to football, they make certain guys wait a long time for no other reason, other than they can. You go to basketball, you make Webb wait, but Tracy McGrady gets in on the first try, which to me made no sense at all. If you're talking about guys who, if you're going to factor winning into it in basketball, how does Tracy, I can't get out the first round, McGrady get in before Webb? I mean,
think about T.O., same thing in the NFL. They kept T.O. out of the Hall of Fame to make some sort of point for 2 years.
Because we don't like you. We don't like you, Mr. Owens. You weren't nice to us back in '98, so we're going to make you wait for the Hall of Fame. I can't with that stuff. It just makes no sense to me at all.
But they put Aeneas Williams in there immediately. Everybody name your favorite Aeneas Williams moment.
He was good.
I kept thinking more names were going to be announced. No, David Ortiz is literally the only person who's getting in. Barry Bonds got this, obviously the closest he's ever gotten. Alex Rodriguez finished with 34% of the vote.
Yeah, the other crazy thing about this is like they're doing this with Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, not Juan Gonzalez, not like some French guy, not David Ortiz. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are two of the best players to ever play. Like in any generation, they're on the short list of like top 10. And they're like, nah, we're not putting these guys in. Because there's no way they were good or Hall of Fame players without steroids. No.
Yeah, like I said, even if you do the whole quote when steroids became prevalent timeline, those guys were Hall of Famers before then.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's a weird. It's a reason why people hate the media. Because of stuff like that. This is. Yeah, I got kids running around. So.
Yeah, that's all right. You're getting help with the homework. Has your son in recent days asked how long the Sacramento Kings have been trash?
No, because my kids are kind of split. My youngest kid is a LeBron fan. My oldest kid is a Warriors fan at his mom's house and a Lakers fan at my house.
Oh man,
the middle kid doesn't care.
Man, that's living the life right there.
Yeah, so he has a collection of Warriors stuff, a collection of Lakers stuff. He actually has some King stuff too, but he just likes the oldest one. He just likes sports. So if it's sport, you give it to him. He's going to wear it. Doesn't matter what the team is. He's not allowed to wear Niner stuff in my house though. That's like and luckily the one thing about his mom is
of a winning environment.
No, we don't. We're not. Atheists or pagans. Pagans in my home. We don't worship the Niners. We don't allow that in the home. I'm gonna raise my kid to be a good kid. Thanks to the Niners, I had to go listen to that song "Super Gremlin," and I was like,
and I was like, Kodak is a little weird too, but that's a smash. That's a smash. I can't front.
I wasn't sure. I mean, when I heard the song, I was like, Kodak Black looks like a man who would be a super gremlin. Like, he looks like a gremlin. So I was like, okay, but I mean, that's about all I've gained from the Niners run. So, hey, it is what it is.
That's a smash right there.
Maybe that comes to an end on Sunday.
Hopefully not, Jason.
Well, either way, I know fewer Rams fans. So my life is easier if the Rams win. And I was a LA Rams fan as a kid. I liked Flipper Anderson and all those guys, the bus when he was in the LA Rams. So if I'm going to lean anyway, I'm going to lean toward my Bay Area NorCal friends being sad on Sunday.
Damn.
That would make the next 2 weeks of my life much easier. I would have to hear the phrase "bang bang."
Bang bang Niner gang.
Yeah, that's neutral party.
I love E4. That got to be the worst slogan in all the sports.
That's obnoxious.
I swear my 7-year-old came up with that. I'm like, really? Bang, bang. Like I said, you guys weren't a gang until this song. You guys were faithful before. And now you're a gang. It's like being
not a gang before that. We was not a gang back in the Harbaugh years.
I know you were faithful. So you went from like being saints to sinners. Like, I don't know what you guys are.
We were Niner gang in the Harbaugh years. We just didn't.
I know you weren't. You became a gang recently.
No, I said we were in the Harbaugh years. Yeah, we've been saying that, man. Come on now.
Whatever. Y'all transform. Y'all come up with new. Y'all be something else next year.
Super Bowl champions.
Even though all y'all wanted to sit him.
That's what you're gonna call us next year, Super Bowl champions.
No, I won't.
Reigning Super Bowl champs. That's what you're gonna call us.
Why would I say that when it's probably gonna be the Chiefs are to be the champions again? Why would I say that? I just need y'all to get to the Super. But actually, y'all getting to the Super Bowl and losing, it's way more fun for me.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that last Super Bowl, last Niners Chiefs Super Bowl, I was ready to go ahead and say I can't go on social media for about 2 months. I've talked too bad about them. In that last 7 minutes, my God, that was glorious.
Missed the whole thing.
We're going to lose this game. That was a thing of beauty. The meme of Bosa on the bench crying with like MLK and Rosa Parks laughing at him.
Wow.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. That was almost as good as all of the Dr. Fauci laughing at Aaron Rodgers ones. And Saturday was tough for me because, like I said, I'm a Cal guy. I loved Aaron Rodgers, but the more I learned about him, I'm like, I knew he was weird, but like that whole Molly night, I'm going to let everyone bully this reporter over something she didn't write story. And he was like, well, I don't care. I was like, now you're just a trash human being, Aaron. You're just being trash. That's just trash behavior from him. I'm like, I can't rock with that.
Bad job.
That's exactly how we described him earlier. By the way, we were having this discussion because they were talking about the Packers, Lambeau, like they have this big Hall of Fame there, and I've heard a couple of people talking about it here who covered the game recently. If the Kings had a Hall of Fame in Doco, what would be in it?
A laughing Jason Jones. That's what it'd be, just on a loop.
You have Mitch Richmond's All-Star Game MVP trophy.
That's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
You have Bobby's Six Man of the Year trophy.
Yeah.
You have
Gerald Wallace.
Couple Buddy and Paige's 3-point trophies.
Yeah. You'd have that. You'd have maybe a replica of DeMarcus and Rudy's Olympic medals or their World Championship medals.
Jason's coming with the real achievement.
Yeah, Jason's being serious. Yeah,
I'm just like I just started thinking. I don't know what else would you have in there. I mean, you'd have a picture of Shaq and Kobe, with Game 7 under it.
No, you absolutely.
If you're doing pictures, you've got the Rick Fox picture.
Rick Fox is the picture.
Mm-hmm. Even though that was a sneaky cheap shot,
Threw the ball at him.
It was a cheap shot.
It threw the ball right in
front of him. Like this, and he sucker punched him.
Oh, so I throw the ball at you, and I'm gonna just put my hands up like I ain't do nothing. Protect yourself at all times.
That's it.
I agree, but y'all celebrate that punch like they squared up, and he just pop. That's not what happened.
And it wasn't even like the most solid shot from DC.
It was almost like Rick looked at him like, "Did you really hit me?"
He like pushed his chin up more than he actually.
And Rick was like, "Hold up, did he hit me?"
He just checked him like, "Watch yourself." But
the way it gets talked about, if I hadn't seen the video myself, I would have swore Doug and Rick squared up in a pretty boy fight, one of the greatest pretty boy fights ever. They just squared up, and
that was.
In general,
by the way,
sports fights are overrated in general.
Do y'all know what Rick Fox does right now?
I saw him on TV acting. Actually,
is he a full actor? Is he?
He's definitely
back.
But
he works for Kanye. He works for Kanye West.
Oh, I did know that.
I didn't know that. Last time I saw him, he was acting, and he
definitely acts.
Playing his wife on TV. It was hilarious.
he definitely acts, but yeah, he works for Kanye.
I didn't.
Rick Ross was telling a story in his book about how like they went to some like studio, like one of Tyler Perry's studios to do like to work on an album and like a big strategy for running for president. And Rick Ross said like Kanye had called him in to go. He's like, I need some beats for the album. And he walks in and he's greeted by Rick Fox. Like, yo, like Rick Fox is walking around with a tablet, like managing Kanye's schedule. I'm like, yo,
that's wild.
I'm going to say Rick Fox is acting right now. I don't want to think about Rick Fox going from
personal assistant
champion to clearing Kanye's schedule. I can't put my head around. I just saw my man's on TV acting on a TV show with Vanessa Williams playing his wife, which was wild in itself.
Rick Fox, remember the game? The game is back on Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
check that out. I was about to say something else about just that game. Jason, I don't want to. No, you weren't there. I don't want to disrespect you. You weren't covering that, were you?
Which what?
Lakers Kings that preseason.
No. I was watching that on TV.
Like 20.
That was 20.
That was 3.
That was 3. And you started in what, like
2003, I think, because Shaq he was in street clothes. He'd had the surgery.
Yeah, it was the preseason game immediately following the Western Conference Finals. That's just a crazy scene when first of all, the preseason game following that, it was a preseason game. And then to see them, like, very rarely do we get that, right? Like, you get a lot of the times, oh, there's bad blood here. They're grueling 7-game series and, they're going to lock horns, but they ain't really tripping by the time they play. No, it kind of felt like the Kings The Kings have been waiting to see the Lakers since
the
they
Kings were still salty. They were still. It looked like they were still salty. Lakers was like, "This is a preseason game. What y'all tripping off of?" They were still salty. They were still salty.
The Kings were pissed, and they had that scene of the whole bench left and waiting for the.
Like I said, back in those days, you wore the big linen suits, and Shaq in his big linen suit trying to get around to the. I mean, yeah, it was a sight to behold on television. I'm like, wow, this is hilarious. I mean, I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, did he really hit Rick? I was like,
oh, it's still funny. Yeah,
it's hilarious to me. To me, what makes it even funnier is that the further we get away, the crazier the story becomes. Like I said, if you hadn't have seen it, and you talk to the Kings fans, Rick Fox was standing around and Doug walked up to him and just clocked him, knocked him out cold. And it was,
and then Jackie came around with a loaded purse like Sensational Sherry and was swinging at Rick and Shaq.
On Raw.
She pulled it. It was like Edge and Beth Phoenix last night.
Like Maurice had the brick in her purse.
They put the 3D on Rick, and then Vanessa tried to run in, and she got dropped. And if you listen to the stories now, it is the wildest thing ever. Then you see it, it was like, I'm sorry, that's my.
We don't know what's that. We told y'all he's the professor now. The professor. Jason
for some reason, I'm not at home, and my kid decided to ring a doorbell.
That's a hell of a doorbell.
I'm not at my home, so that's why you guys know with me. I'll be bouncing around. You never know where I'm gonna end up at.
Yeah, everywhere. That's that professor life. That Professor Jason Jones, not Jabari.
I no longer have to go to every Kings game live too. I just kind of, like I said, I have the luxury now. When they play terribly, I don't want to watch. I just turn it off. I turn them off the way I turn the Lakers off now. I just turn them off.
Well, so Jason, that's a pretty good segue because. I mean, is there any reason to watch this team anymore?
Which team?
The Kings. If you don't have professional obligations, what am I tuning in for? What am I?
I have no idea. I'm more interested in all the leaks out of Philly. That's the that's the best part of their season now. I'm like, I don't care. I mean, what they do on the court doesn't really matter anymore. It's like, unless they're gonna win 10 games in a row or win 10 of 12, it's like, all right, they're gonna get up for one game a week or every 10 days. They'll beat someone, and you'll be like, "Yay, we beat some team above 500, yay!" And then they'll go out and they'll lose to 3 bad teams in a row, or they'll lose to the Bucks without 2-star. They'll do something like that and remind you they're still the same team. But I can't. I mean, there's not this young player just I got to see him every night because Davion doesn't start. I guess you could say you want to see Tyrese, but is Tyrese just auditioning for Philly? Who knows?
You think that's legit? Philly and one Tyrese?
I think it's a legit leak out of Philly that they would take Tyrese. Yeah, definitely. Because they've sat around since the end of last season talking about what they're going to get for Ben, and they're realizing, like we all knew, you're not getting a superstar for Ben. You're just not. As good as Ben is at what he does, he's limited in key areas like shooting. And I know, and really what Ben is a small ball center. If he's not going to shoot, he's a small ball center who can guard multiple spots. So he has value, but no one's giving you your star for him.
All right.
And so you're just kind of in this thing. And I think if a team like Philly could get Tyrese, that'd be that gives them a guard with some size, a guy who can facilitate, who can shoot. I mean, I see why they would want Tyrese, and I see why they would want Tyrese over De'Aaron. It would he'd be a better fit because he can shoot from the 3, space the floor, let Embiid work. So I mean, it makes sense. But the question becomes, how many of these first-round picks do you want? And that's where the whole thing with Ben gets weird, because as good as he is, you're not getting a Paul George 4 first-round picks package. I don't think for Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
you're not getting a crazy deal for him. So it's a matter of, at some point, Embiid's having a hell of a year, and they'll mess around losing the second round because they decided to keep a guy who didn't want to be there that they don't want. And to me, that would be crazy, because we know how Joel's health is. If he gets through the whole season healthy and then you get there and they lose because his second best player is Tobias Harris, followed by Seth Curry. I mean, you could have gotten him some legit help. I mean, that then falls right at the feet of Daryl Morey.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, and I mean, you talk about leaks coming out of Philly. I don't even think these are leaks. I think this is very obviously Daryl Morey attempting to negotiate through the media.
Oh, definitely.
The sad part is Tyrese Haliburton is a hell of a fit for that Philadelphia team. Like he very much is perfect for them.
And the Kings, you know, when you keep drafting point guards, of course, Philly's going to be like, you can give us Tyrese. You got 2 more of them. And one of them's going to max deal.
All right.
You know, and if you're talking about long-term flexibility and whatnot, of course you'd rather have Tyrese than De'Aaron. You know, of course that would be your choice, but I don't know what the Kings want to do with that. You know, I mean, I think I had someone say, you know, I think one of the guys I work with, Anthony Slater, was like, is Tyrese going to be a superstar or is he a high-level role player on a good team? You have to decide what Tyrese is. Is Tyrese going to, you know, what Ben's been like a 3-time All-Star? Is Tyrese going to be a multiple-time All-Star? You know, and if you believe he is, you keep him. If you don't think he's going to be an All-Star, to me, you got to think about you got to include him to get you a guy like that.
But if Ben winds up here, do you think Ben is an All-Star again?
I think once you get that label, it's easier to get back there. But the thing is, he may not be one because they may not win. Right. You know, it's going to be more about the winning part of it. But I mean, in terms of the level of play, I mean, Ben was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. That's not a small thing to me, especially when you have one of the worst defenses for the last decade and a half. But what's that worth? I don't know. Like I said, if I'm the Kings, I don't want to give up Tyrese, but gotta get one of them guards is going to get moved at some point. It doesn't make sense to keep all 3 of them. One of them is going to have to get moved, and you got to figure out, well, what's out there that makes the most sense. And De'Aaron's harder to move because of his contract. Tyrese is on a rookie deal.
Dude, we talked at length today about the combination of De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton and whether or not they can coexist. They can bring the best out of each other and be this dynamic tandem. A lot of people say, and I'm with them on this one, still give it some time for them to learn to play together. But Damien asked me what my level of confidence was, 10 being the highest one, like this isn't going to work. I was like, I got to be honest with you. I think it's like a 3, maybe a 4. Like, I don't see this working with these two the way that they play. What do you see with that tandem there? Can it work? What kind of confidence do you have in that tandem working long term?
I'm kind of with you just because right now De'Aaron's not a shooter. But De'Aaron's a guy who needs the ball. But Tyrese is at his best when he has the ball and he can set guys up. Now, if De'Aaron was a guy who could shoot in addition to get to the basket and everything, that'd be a different story to me. But with De'Aaron needing to have the ball, and then De'Aaron's best skill is he's a scorer, not a facilitator. But De'Aaron tends to have the ball more than Tyrese, so it's a weird fit in that regard because it's not like Tyrese is a spot-up shooter. Tyrese is a facilitator. He's a combo guard. I guess you could say De'Aaron's a point guard, but he's a scoring point guard. And how much do you want to have to give De'Aaron the ball and take it from Tyrese? And this is when you watch, say, Tyrese and Terrence Davis play together, where it's clear what TD is and it's clear what Tyrese is. It's just weird to watch because it fits better. It's like when you watch it fits better, even if the talent level between them isn't the same. Sometimes it's just a better fit. And Tyrese has looked his best as a King when he wasn't playing with De'Aaron. And I think probably the numbers would bear that out, that his better games have always come when De'Aaron wasn't playing.
It's like 23-12 almost, I think, are his numbers. Yeah. At least this year, when De'Aaron's
and even
go
back to last season, he played, that stretch after De'Aaron had COVID, he was putting up some nice numbers as the primary ball handler. So I think what I've seen is clear that people want to say it's Tyrese a combo guard, whatever. Is he like Bogey? No, to me, Bogey's a combo. Tyrese is a point guard. Tyrese is a point guard, and I think long term you're hurting the situation by trying to make him into this off-ball player. But you can't make De'Aaron an off-ball player. That's why I say at some point one of them's gonna have to go. I just think I don't see how you keep them together unless over the next few months something magically happens. De'Aaron's jump shot gets better. Tyrese gets more, gets comfortable being a guy who can play away without the ball. Even though I think he can play without the ball, I think he's at his best when he's running the team.
Right.
That's what Tyrese has always been. That's what Tyrese has always been. He's always been a guy who's had, he's been a leader. He's a leader, and your leader usually is the guy with the ball.
You said that you think you're going to have to move on from one or the other. Do you think that? I think it's an interesting, conversation tonight with the Boston Celtics. Is Boston in the same place that they it's not going to work with Tatum and Brown together? They got to move on from one of them.
I don't know. I think they've had a little more success with them together. They still got to figure out how to make that. They need a point. They need a point guard. They need a real facilitator to go with those guys because you can't.
They too need Tyrese Haliburton.
Yeah, they need Tyrese too. But they probably be like, "Hey, do you want Marcus Smart back for him?"
Right. Yeah. I'm about to say the Kings
Marcus need. Do you really need Marcus and Davion together? I mean, do you need two guys? I mean, the opposing backcourts would hate it. I don't know how much of a better team you become.
I need Marcus and Buddy in the same locker room for a week.
Oh man, furniture would be moving.
Oh, God,
at least a week. I need it.
I would love to see that. I would love to see just like Marcus Smart.
Mo Harkless was hot.
Yeah, Marcus Smart is the guy who came out and said that we can't have Tatum and Brown fighting over who's going to get the shot. What's he going to say about Buddy? Even though Buddy lights them up too. I was the game. Was it in Boston where Buddy hit them for 12 threes or something?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was the game where for whatever reason Buddy was hot and they stopped giving Buddy the ball. Typical Kings thing. Somebody's hot. Hey, you know what that means? It's my turn to get my game going. Instead of milking that. It's like, oh, what? Buddy's hit in that game, Buddy couldn't miss. Then all of a sudden, Buddy couldn't get the ball anymore.
Man.
It's a wild world.
It was 15 plus years of this.
But at least we got Professor the down though.
Hey, before we let you go, who's winning the Royal Rumble?
Like I said, we in Vallejo. You never know what's gonna happen out here.
Okay, live from Daytona.
I don't know what that was. They done set the alarms off, but I'll say I've got a swerve prediction though. Here's my prediction.
The
Bloodline screws Brock Lesnar out of his title.
Okay.
Brock goes in and wins the Rumble and chooses Roman instead of choosing Lashley.
Oh,
okay. All right.
So we still get our Brock Roman. You get the belt back on Bobby.
So
because we all know the day one plan was not what they planned on happening.
Right.
So you get and so then you can figure out someone for Bobby to deal with later. Because what I don't want is a Lashley, Brock, Roman triple threat. We don't need a triple threat.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think Brock gets screwed out the belt. He gets back in there. He gets number 22 or something. He just throws everyone out. He gets to win the Rumble. I don't think Brock's won a Rumble before.
No.
Did he win with the year that
what's his name
Kurt Angle? The WrestleMania against Kurt Angle, I think he won the Royal Rumble that year.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that would be
That was 20
drama.
years ago.
yeah, that would be good drama. They're going to bring Ronda Rousey back too, it looks like. So,
but they have to, for that to be executed, and maybe they do it all the time, but they'd have to kind of show their hand by having that championship match before the Rumble.
Have to be first, yeah.
Yeah, but usually the Rumbles last.
They do that.
Did the Rumble always last? I wasn't sure.
A lot.
Anyway.
Yeah,
because you have to have the Rumble last, because you have to have at the end of the Rumble I'm pointing to the WrestleMania sign picture to go off the air. Because if you don't point at the WrestleMania sign, it doesn't count.
And no one did it worse than Ronda. No one pointed at the sign worse than Ronda Rousey did.
Ronda was like, "What am I supposed to be doing here?"
Just point at the sign, Rhonda. Just literally, just point at the sign.
They've all been doing this for years, Rhonda. It's right there. Just do this.
You can't miss it.
It's really big.
Real quick before
so that's what I think is going to happen. The Rumble, the women's one, I have no idea. I think if they probably bring Ronda back and let her win, even though I think they had to get Bianca back in there.
Yeah, yeah.
I want Bianca back in the main event, but because I want that WWE will say, nah, we're going to give you Ronda Rousey and you're going to take it and you're going to like it.
You know that's going to be the case. Real quick before you leave, we had a very heated debate, big discussion. It's on our YouTube page. We got a poll. We had another imaginary versus, and this one, it started off with just Maxwell versus Brian McKnight, but then we made it a fatal four-way. Tell me who you got. Joe, Maxwell, Brian McKnight, and Genuine.
Maxwell.
Oh, wow. Maxwell finished dead last. In
that's my
both of them.
That's my preference in terms of their music. If you're talking about if it's like a versus where they're performing, that's probably going to be Genuine because you probably have a crowd, a bunch of women in there, and that's going to sway everything. It'll be like he'll do Pony, and they'll be like, ah.
Genuine got crazy hits though. Genuine got hits. He got hits. We all said Joe though. We said Joe would take that belt.
I think Maxwell has better albums, but that's just me. But I'm not gonna. I wouldn't be sitting at the verses like, oh, this is gonna for the aesthetics of it. I'd be like, let me just listen, and I'm gonna listen to Maxwell more than the other three. But that's just me. But I think, I mean, Joe has hits like that.
Joe got hit.
He got a few. Yeah. I mean, Brian McKnight got pop culture on lock. Genuine got like 38 plus, 38-year-old plus. Yeah. 35 to 35 plus on locked.
Yeah.
And Maxwell, I don't know Maxwell's demo. I don't know who you
I think about Joe, I can't get that scene from Don't Be a Menace out of my head because that song came. And so whenever I hear that, I don't think of Joe I think of that scene in the movie, in the hot dog and the Marlon Wayne, hot dog. Yeah. All
right. That's the professor. The professor Jason Jones, the athletic right there.
Random noises you might hear next week.
Hey, stay safe in the mean streets of Vallejo. We'll see you next week, buddy.
All right,
all right.